All right, good evening, everyone. At this point, I will go ahead and make a motion to adjourn from the study session, and there is nothing to report out. That is my motion. Second. Second. Any objections? See none, so moved. All right, at this point, I want to say good evening to everyone. I'd like to open up the Baldwin Park City Council regular meeting, the Finance and Housing Authority as well. Today is March 1st, 2017, and the time is 7:10. At this point, we'll have a Councilmember Ricardo Pacheco lead us in an invocation, followed by the flag salute. So I will ask all those that are able to stand to please do so. Yes, Father. Let's have Pastor Flores. Should you lead us in an invocation? Thank you.
Sorry.
No, he was here.
Let's pray. Gracious God, we come before you tonight, Lord, as we begin the Lenten season and the acknowledgement of Ash Wednesday, to recognize, Lord, your sovereignty over our city and over our lives. Lord, we pray for divine intervention in the midst of our city and cultures that are often in chaos and trying to find truth and seeking truth. Guide our proceedings, Lord, that we can learn to continue to trust and believe, Lord, and honor you in all that we do. Lord, we thank you for those that serve, Lord, both in this chamber and those that serve externally in the city, Lord. Give them strength today and the peace that only comes from you. In Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. At this point, we'll face the flag. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I want to thank Pastor Flores, or Dr. Flores, who's a product of the city of Baldwin Park, and also is a professor over at Azusa Pacific University. So thank you for that. And also pastor at the Church of the Redeemer in our town. So at this point, council members wishing to close on anyone, or have yes? At this point, council member, yes.
Which microphone do I use?
You know what? Oh, okay. Let's turn on our regular ones as well, so that the audience can hear us.
Yeah, use the regular microphones. They may cut out, and in that case, if they do, use the backups, and these regular ones should come back on in a couple of minutes after that.
Thank you. On behalf of my uncle, Refugio Cucovaca, my dad's brother, who's the last of the 16 Vaca original children, passed away 2 weeks ago. The services will be on Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning at St. John's, and I would like to ask the city to send flowers on his behalf. They were born here in Baldwin Park, and they worked the fields with their mother and father here in Baldwin Park. And he retired from the operating engineers, Local 12. And so I just want to send out my condolences to the family. He will be missed. But the one thing that I can't say is that he's up there with my dad. So thank you.
Thank you. I just want to follow up, and obviously your family goes back many, many, many years here in the city of Baldwin Park. I want to thank him and recognize for the recognition. I know that part of your family also fed during the actual recession. 1929, Depression, 1929, where they were out on their carretillas carriage feeding the town as well. So our deepest condolences goes out to a very well-known and iconic family in the city of Baldwin Park. All right.
And also this past week, I also lost a dear friend, Leon Ware, a great songwriter, musician that had worked with everybody from Marvin Gaye to Michael Jackson, and we lost him as well last week. So condolences to his wife, Carol, that I worked very closely with for many years, and his family.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That's well noted. All right. So, yes.
I just would like to close the memory of my dad. He's having his second anniversary of his path.
Oh,
and
wow.
Coco Ayala just had her first anniversary.
Oh, that's right.
And
that's right. And also America. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So this one, we'll go ahead and ask City Treasurer Maria Contreras to take roll call.
Good evening, everyone. What are those that close? Councilmember Chris Baca. Here. Councilmember Monica Garcia. Here. Councilmember Ricardo Pacheco.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Susan Rubio.
Present.
Mayor Manuel Lozano.
Here. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right. So at this point, we have anyone else have anything else they want to share? Okay. If not, we'll go to the presentations that we have. First, we have by Terry Muse, Ballpark Business Association, the current events and accomplishments of the association. So this one, let's have the whole business association group come up here.
Mayor, what they
Yes.
come in, may I say something?
Yes.
I would like to welcome David Muse, the new director for Baldwin County Water.
Oh, that's right. Let's see here. All right. Thank you.
And
Yes,
also,
congratulations.
Alfonso Contreras, Vice President of Baldwin County Water, and Ed Chavez, President of, I'm sorry, Upper St. Gabriel Municipal Water, and Margarita Vargas.
All right. Thank you.
Good evening, Council.
Indeed.
We are the Baldwin Park Business Association. The Baldwin Park Business Association promotes and improves the local businesses and the local environment, stimulates a vibrant economy, and produces a cooperative effort to enhance the overall quality of life in Baldwin Park. At this time, I'd like to tell you introduce our officers. Our chair is Terry Muse from Waste Management. I am the small business vice chair. My name is Cece Lee. I've been in business with the buyback store for 49 years. George Silva is our second vice chair from SCE Federal Credit Union. Our secretary is Laura Santos with Royal Coaches. Our treasurer is May Robiana from Bank of the West. Mark Sears, our small business director from California Discount Glass. Cynthia Espinoza is the director of nonprofit. She's with Baldwin Park Police Association. Charlie Contreras with HLC Electric is our Director of Small Business. Henry Zamora, Director of Corporate with Courtyard Marriott. Our Director of Corporate Wells Fargo is Tracy Aguirre. And Steve Young with Allen Company is our another corporate director.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Henry Zamora with the Courtyard by Marriott in Baldwin Park. Just a little bit about our new business association. We need to get a new association, and instead of the Chamber of Commerce that was been long gone for many years, we're a totally new association, and what we're trying to do is to just try to combine the old with the new. We know we needed a new identity, and we're trying to do that. Picking up where the old chamber left with no membership list, it was kind of hard, so we needed to start from scratch. At this point, we have 64 members. Of course, everyone is welcome to join. We have personal memberships, businesses, small businesses, nonprofit. It's an open invitation for the community to join the new association. No funds to hire any professional PR agency, so we're doing everything ourselves with the assistance of the city and also the Mount Sierra College, where the students are helping us with the website, brochures, business cards, etc., etc. Once again, we're open and welcoming everyone to join our new business association. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. So I get to actually go over the fun stuff, which is our marketing materials. I did bring some here. So we're really proud of the marketing materials that we actually came up with. You will see it on the first slide, and I think on the next slide, you're gonna see the brochure and our actual application. So anybody who is interested to join, you can just rip off the portion and apply. The next slide, which has our Instagram, which we're also excited about, both our Facebook and Instagram. We do update it every time that we have an event, whether it's a ribbon cutting, a mixer, or just an event that we're hosting, a networking event. We do take pictures, and we try to always promote either the business that was there, any businesses, or even any city council members that are there. So we are excited about it. We are doing it ourselves, just like Henry said. So any support from anybody, we are more than happy to get the help.
Good evening. Okay, so we have some events coming up, and we have all the dates here. March 9th. It's not going to do? Okay. So we do have events coming up that we already have on the calendar. I'm going to go through them really quick. March 9th at 6 p.m. we have a ribbon cutting and a mixer, and it's over at La Cocinita. April 13th at 8 a.m. it's going to be a Wake Up Baldwin Park at the Baldwin Park Women's Club. May 11th at 6 p.m. it's also a mixer. It's going to be at the courtyard by the Marriott. June 8th at 8 a.m. it's going to be the Wake Up Baldwin Park. It's still we're still determining the location. And then July 13th at 6 it's going to be a mixer. We're actually going to do that at the conference in the park. August 10th, the State of Baldwin Park, State of City. We're still also trying to figure out the date. September 14th at 6 p.m. it's a mixer, and it's going to be at the Baldwin Park Historical Society, right? And then October 12th at 8 a.m. it's a Wake Up Baldwin Park, to be determined. November 9th, it's our first responders luncheon. We're still trying to find the location for that. And then December 7th at 6 p.m. it's a mixer at the SE Federal Credit Union and La Cocinita are going to be joining together. And then throughout the year, I'm sure we're going to have ribbon cutting helps. So as soon as we get other dates and stuff, we'll go ahead and announce those and let everybody know about other events coming up. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Council. My name is May with Bank of the West. I'm the treasurer. Some of the challenges that we've been facing is the fact that this is an all-volunteer organization. All of us volunteer our time, our knowledge, our expertise in certain fields to make sure that this pretty much this organization runs smoothly, and that we're here for the city, for the members, just to make just everything good for all of the business and also for the citizens of the Baldwin Park. We don't have a physical location yet. Mark Sear from Discount Glass was letting us work at a pit shop. We do have meetings and things like that at Waste Management or whatever we can, but we do have a P.O. box where all of the new members or correspondence can be sent there, and then we collect that on a weekly basis. We also have a website that's under construction. A lot of the students outside have been helping with that website. But above all, we're excited and we're happy to have this opportunity for the city and for all the businesses, and look forward to this wonderful year. Thank you.
Now I need to talk about opportunities. I think the best thing we have going for us is as you can tell, we have a very excited, motivated board. Oops, sorry. Oh, okay, there I am. I was saying the best thing that we have is an excited and motivated board. We all are volunteers, but everybody is excited about the organization and really, doing their best to help move it forward. We are engaged in the Shop Baldwin Park campaign, so I don't know if you've noticed, but we're featuring a different member each month in the Baldwin Park now. So giving our members an opportunity to expose themselves to the community and what their services are. We also just formed an ambassador committee, and if any of you are involved in chambers, you know they're really vital because they're the ones that go out and meet the businesses and try to encourage them to join and get them involved. And George Silva is actually heading that group up, and you all know George is the most friendly person around, so he's a great person. We're looking for people to be in that committee, so if any of you are interested out in the audience anymore, we'd love to have you join that committee. Also, Tracy, our marketing expert, she's heading up the marketing events committee. So we definitely need help with our State of the City / State of the School District event and our first responders luncheon. So you'll be hearing more about that. If anybody wants to help out, please join Tracy with that. Also, we've had an excellent partnership with the city staff. We really have to thank Victor Ramones for all of his help. He has been wonderful in giving us things to publicize, like the business workshops with the Small Business Center from Laverne, so it's been a great resource for our members. Also, we've gotten so many referrals that Victor has told new businesses about us, and that's how we've got a lot of our new members. Also, we do bi-monthly meetings with Manny Carrillo and with Victor Vermontes to exchange information about what's going on with the Business Association. They tell us what's going on with the economic development. And actually, Victor has started coming to our board meetings and giving us city updates, so we really appreciate that. So we're all connected. We've had great support from the business community. The UPS store gave us a PO box for free, and also print our business cards, because again, we have really no funds. And Imagine Printing, used to be cheapest graphics, printed all of our brochures for free, an in-kind donation, our stationery. So the businesses definitely are excited and want to see us succeed, so we're really thankful for that. And also, we've been partnering with other entities like the Regional Chamber of Commerce, doing events with them. We also joined the Coalition of Chambers, which is all the chambers in San Gabriel Valley, and we go to their meetings to hear about legislative updates. And also, since the City of Baldwin Park is a member of the Economic Partnership, we are allowed to be a member of the Economic Partnership too, so we've joined and we're very excited about that opportunity. So we just wanted to give you an update, let you know who we are, what we're doing. We hope that anybody who is not a member will consider joining, and also we hope to see you at our next event. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, thank each and every one of you for being here today. And Cece, thank you very much as well, because I know you've been a pillar in the community. And of course, 49 years of a very well-known pawn shop in town. So I want to thank you very much, especially you and all the members. Looking forward to working with you. Alrighty, so at this point, we have another presentation, which is the presentation by yes.
I would also
Sorry about that, yes.
I don't know what to use.
Use the one that
Is this on?
Yes.
I would also like to welcome representatives from Assembly Member Blanca Rubio's office, which is Ari and Veronica Lopez.
Oh, thank you guys for being here. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the next item, which is the presentation by Rose Tam, the Director of Finance, on the fiscal year 2015-2016 comprehensive annual fiscal report. So at this point, thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. We are annually required to have an independent auditor to review and audit the city's financial activities. And we are also required to present here the paper and the result of the audit. We have our auditor here tonight and to make the presentation to all of you.
Good evening. Good evening.
Okay, is the mic? Yeah, here we go. Thank you.
Good evening. Is that better? My name is Peggy McBride. I'm with Vasquez and Company. We are the independent auditor for the city this year. It's a pleasure to be here this evening to present the audit results to you. We've got a number of slides here, and I'm going to try and go through them fairly quickly because I know you have other items on the agenda, but I do hope to give you a general sense of the audit, which I think was a very positive experience this year. We had a good result. We will hear about some good audit opinions, and I think staff is to be commended for having made some great improvements over the prior year. So that's the presentation in a nutshell. To get into some of the detail, we are presenting on the results of the audit of the financial statements and also on the audit of your federal programs. Those are the two items that we address here. And we perform those audits as independent CPAs in accordance with government auditing standards.
Yeah, we could very, you know what, yeah, that sounds, you know what?
Let's just speak into it.
Yes, speak it. Thank you, there you go. Thank you, Mark, yes.
Okay, let's get on to the highlights anyway. The opinions as a result of our work. First of all, we have an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion. That's the best kind of an opinion that you can get. That opinion is on the financial statements, which in other words means that we believe those financial statements do fairly present the city's financial position and results of operations. We also perform limited procedures on your individual fund and combining financial statements, and we take no exception to those either. We also have an unmodified opinion on your compliance with laws and regulations that pertain to financial reporting. And further, we have an unmodified opinion on your internal controls. In other words, with respect to internal controls over financial reporting, we noted no material weaknesses in internal controls or significant deficiencies. So this is excellent news in terms of on a year-round basis, when auditors aren't here, the ability for you to believe you have sound internal control systems that will provide appropriate financial information is critical. And then last fall, we did issue a separate report to management and the council as a result of our work that has comments in it that are suggestions for improvement, but do not constitute findings of non-compliance or internal control weakness. There are certain required communications that an auditor must make to either an audit committee or to the council, and so I'll run through those very quickly. Let me just say at the beginning, these are required communications because if any of these areas were a problem area, it would be important that your auditor tell you about that. As a practical matter, each one of the areas I'm going to discuss, there are no problems or issues to disclose to you. So first of all, management did accept responsibility for the financial statements and the accounting principles as they are required to do. And we are not aware that any consultation was needed with other accountants. There were no issues of controversy or confusion that required other accountants to be brought in. We encountered no difficulties with management with respect to the audit. They were forthcoming, opened up the books to us, were helpful to us. Having auditors in is always a bit of a challenge when you also have your day job to do, but we had great cooperation. We also had no disagreements with management on accounting principles or reporting issues. And we did review the accounting policies that the city uses, and we believe that those are appropriate and were consistently applied. There were no unusual issues that were encountered as part of this audit, nothing controversial that had to be addressed. And also audit adjustments, there were very few audit adjustments. This is important because what that means is that the accounting information provided throughout the year, we did not have to make adjustments or corrections to it in order to issue the unmodified opinion on the financial statements. There were no conditions that were agreed to prior to our retention as your auditor, and very important, we noted no irregularities, illegal acts, or instances of fraud. And finally, management is providing representation letter to us on the financial statements. With respect to the individual areas, I won't talk about each one, but this slide gives you an overview of the key accounts that we look at as part of the audit. And you can see we have no findings or adjustments with the exception of one finding in the area of cash equivalents. And what this was a recording of cash with fiscal agents. So there was not an error per se. It's a matter of bringing in the cash maintained by fiscal agent. And then an adjustment to an entry that was made to record your pension liability. We also performed procedures with respect to fraud, and these included inquiries of various members of management and staff and the council. The purpose of this is to speak with these individuals and be sure that they have an understanding of the risks of fraud and find out from them how those risks are managed so that we can report back to you if we see weaknesses with respect to the potential for fraud. We also perform procedures over the entire universe of disbursements and payroll in order to perform analytical procedures on a computer basis in order to identify anything that might be a duplicate payment, unusual trends, very high payments, anything that as an auditor we should look at and that you might want to be concerned about. And any transactions that were identified were found to be proper, so no problems here. With respect to internal controls, we evaluate your internal controls in order to determine where we need to focus our audit procedures. And as I mentioned before, no material internal control weaknesses were identified. And with respect to information technology, we do look at general controls in areas such as the backing up of information, the restriction on access to parties that should not have access to your systems, and change management where you're changing your systems to be sure that that's properly controlled. We've had no findings to report. You had findings in the prior year, and those were addressed. Last of all, the general ledger, if everything else is working fine, there can still be problems based on inappropriate journal entries, so we do look at your journal entries. We want to make sure that they are appropriate, properly approved, and the procedures performed in that area were found to be that the journal entries were appropriate, so no findings there. That gets me quickly through the financial statement audit. I wanted to just touch on the audit of your federal programs, the single audit, and let you know that we looked at 2 programs this year, the federal transit grant, which was purchasing some transit vehicles, and the equitable sharing program, which is federal asset forfeiture monies. And our opinions on those are also unmodified. So we have no internal control weaknesses with regard to how you administer those programs. And we have an unmodified opinion with respect to compliance. We do have one finding that has to do with it's called equipment management. What it really amounts to is making a more complete listing of your fixed assets financed with federal programs. There are some rather specific requirements on how you have to track federally financed fixed assets. The city is aware of them. Staff has plans to take care of that in the coming year as you complete your implementation of the TIGER system. It's also required that we look at prior year findings, even though those were findings of another auditing firm, and we did do that. And what we found is that the city placed a great deal of attention this year on dealing with those and correcting them. 3 of the 4 findings actually had to do with the payroll and the maintenance of effort reporting. Those were addressed. I've already mentioned there's one pending with regard to the capital asset listing for fixed assets. But overall, a very good job in addressing prior year findings. Let's see, what else do we have here? That similar subject. Status of prior recommendations. The difference here is that there was a management letter that was issued with the less important comments, and we found that this was primarily addressed and taken care of. Many of the areas in the prior year had to do with tying up accounts and some bookkeeping matters that were addressed this year, so we did not have to repeat those findings this year. There are 3 pending areas with regard to the management letter from last year that you can see there. One of them has to do with updating policies and procedures. It's very difficult to wait until you complete a system implementation, which is what's happening here, so we don't have a problem with that. There is an old credit card travel policy that needs to be updated that hasn't been done yet. And there is a requirement, this will kind of fold in with some of the federal requirements to provide more comprehensive policies and procedures regarding purchasing and vendor-related party transactions. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second here. Prior year observations on technology, those were properly addressed. So with that, I'll talk a little bit about the highlights in the financial statements, unless if there are any questions on the overall audit process so far, I'd be happy to try and answer those.
I have a question. You said that the credit card directed some findings, and do you know what the deadline will be to fix that, or to implement a new credit card system, or?
You know, that is just a best practice to have a good policy with regard to credit card and travel reporting, and to have a current policy. But the one that you have is many, many years old, but we don't really have a deadline associated with it. It's just a recommendation. I believe staff is intending to take care of it this year, so they may have a self-imposed deadline.
Okay, because that's something that we should address as quickly as possible instead of leaving an antiquated system to bring it into the technology of this century.
Yes, I plan to have that updated by the end of this fiscal year. So it will be released from the next year's audit.
Thank you.
For the following fiscal year.
Yes.
All right, certainly, thank you. Yes.
And next year when we come back, you can be sure that we will look at any open items again, and we'll let you know if that was taken care of or if there are any pending areas. Any other questions on the audit process before we chat a little bit about the financial condition of the city?
Anyone else? No, yes, that's the one. Thank you.
A few comments we wanted to make. First of all, as you may be aware, the Housing Asset Fund was actually supposed to be presented. It's a low-mod fund, and it should be part of the city's financial statements, not the successor agency. And so that has been corrected this year, and it's been brought into the city's financial statements. So you will see that presented as a major fund of the city. In the past, you had a future development fund that was classified as a special revenue fund. That is setting aside of money for capital, and that was folded into the general fund this year. And it's clearly labeled as committed fund balance that cannot be spent except with council authorization. That change is actually a requirement from an accounting standpoint, but you will see that in your general fund. Then also the general fund balance, we did want to point out that the city has actually done an excellent job of managing its general fund resources. There was a very minor increase this year of about $200,000, but that is explained by the fact that that is picking up a retroactive COLA increase that dated back, I think I'm told, to 2010. So without that retroactive $200,000 piece, you operated on a break-even basis in the general fund, which I think in these difficult times is very good news. Also at the end of the year, the general fund had an unassigned fund balance. In other words, this is fund balance, it's not restricted, it's spendable, it hasn't been assigned for any particular purpose, it's there for operations. It's kind of like your operating reserve. And that balance was 18% of the annual expenditures, which if you do the math, in other words, you've got that money that would be about 2 months worth of operating expenditures. Now, as it happens, the Government Finance Officers Association, they recommend that cities such as yourself have a fund balance of at least 2 months of operating expenditures. So you have met that requirement, and as a practical matter, you also have some committed funds that you've chosen to set aside, your reserve, your 10% reserve. So you're actually doing a little bit better than GFOA is recommending, which is wonderful. And then finally, perhaps redundant, management has done a very good job, management and certainly the council, of managing expenses in these times. Having said that, I do want to talk for a couple of minutes about some of the upcoming costs that will be occurring that will make it all the more important to continue the stringent control of costs. First of all, here is a depiction of the general fund, and again, we're talking fiscal year 16. So we have revenues of $26.3 million and expenditures of $26.5. If you remember, I just mentioned that the $200,000 difference is the retroactive COLA adjustment. So basically a break-even basis. Now, the council chose to transfer some funds, as you can see in the footnote here, for some bond purchases, capital equipment, parks maintenance, and the summer lunch program. So those are additional transfers. But basically, in terms of general fund operations, you did break even. With the transfers into consideration, there is, of course, a decrease in the general fund balance, leaving the unassigned fund balance that I just spoke of a minute ago. One of the things that, again, I think is a positive point, a couple of years ago, when the consultants were there, a study was occurred about projections, financial projections, and where the city would be. At that point in time, the current year deficit was projected to be somewhere between $2.5 and $4.5 million. You have done much better than that. Without the transfers, you basically broke even. So again, some good things have been done at the city, I'm sure, on both the top side, the revenue side, and cost containment. With respect to the balance sheet, total assets of the general fund are $38.7 million. Not all of that is spendable because we have some long-term receivables there that can't be spent. You have liabilities and deferred inflows of $9.2 million. That leaves your fund balance of $29.5 million. I mentioned that it's not all spendable, and so you have $4.9 million unassigned available to you. Now, just quickly, in fact, very quickly, none of the accounting pronouncements that were in effect this year really impacted your financial statements, so unless you have a great interest in accounting, I'm just going to pass through that. Similarly, in the future, there's one that you want to know about. Last year, you had a big liability booked because of your unfunded pension liability. In fiscal year 18, the year after this coming one, you will be required to book the post-employment benefit liability for retirement medical payments. And so that also will be decreasing the city's net position. It's something that you might get asked about and that you want to be aware of. But
it's you're not alone. Every city in California, and for that matter, in the country, is going to be booking that liability for post-employment benefits. I was going to see if I could pull up the amount of that. Yes, $18 million right now. So that $18 million, it'll change by the time FY18 rolls around, but that will be recorded as a liability. So with that kind of segues me into CalPERS and what's happening here. This is really not good news, although in some ways I think it's better managed than CalPERS. They have realized that the stock market's at an all-time high. Interest rates are not earning a great deal of money on fixed income securities, and therefore it is unlikely that CalPERS is going to be earning as high of an interest rate as it has in the past. So they are revising their assumptions to decrease that interest rate to probably more reflect reality. Based on that decreased interest rate or decreased earnings on their investments means that the funded position is worse than it otherwise would have been. They're phasing it in over 3 years, but in essence, the lower discount rate is going to make the plan less funded than it was. That's going to require higher contributions. So you can expect to see your CalPERS contribution increase because of that change in the discount rate. That is obviously going to factor into your planning and your budgeting for next year and years after that, and I know Rose is well aware of it. With that, Christy Canier is here with me. She has been the overall audit partner on this engagement. I have performed the quality control function. Either one of us would be happy to try and answer any other questions you might have. I hope I didn't go too fast. I just knew there was a lot of material to cover.
All right, please, Councilmember Margaret.
You mentioned the $18 million figure in 2018. Can you break that down a little more so that I can understand what the city what will be required to pay in 2018?
Yes, I will try. The $18 million figure is the unfunded past service liability. So this represents a liability from employees who have previously worked but have earned that amount to pay their retiree medical benefits when they retire. You are not going to be required to pay that $18 million next year or within the next 10 years. It will be amortized into the rates that you pay, and it will probably be spread over something more like 20 to 30 years.
Right. Okay. So what we should factor in is what amount we should be paying to pay down that liability. I mean, that's really what we're getting at for 2018, right? Like you said, $18 million is not. We're not required to pay $18 million in full in 2018, but we should start to think of how much we pay or pay that debt down.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's really because it doesn't change the funding. It's more an informational item. Your $18 million is actually considerably less as a percent of your payroll than many other entities have. So from that standpoint, this is not the worst news. And the liability increase is just now it's going to be reflected in the financial statements. So you will pay it as it comes due, just as you've been doing for many years.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor, who's the movie?
So should I use this one?
Yeah, use this one. So you can, yes. But it's being recorded on the mic.
We can hear with this one. Just really quickly, even though that's going to be paid throughout, as you were stating, 20 years or so, even with a higher discount rate, we're still going to have to pay yearly a lot more in person than we're paying right now, correct?
You will be paying more. Now, I don't believe until we have an actuary come in that I couldn't tell you how much it will be, and I don't think anybody knows, but there will certainly be an increase. Yes.
Well, I believe it's approximately $500,000. Rose, can you clarify that? Would it be more or less $500,000 that we're going to have to pay more yearly because of that discount rate on CalPERS?
Yes, as you may see, the projection for the next 5 years, that was reflecting what Peggy showing up there, the 7.5% increase to 7%. And if all the numbers is showing in the handout I gave it to you before.
Okay.
Yeah, how much that we are expecting to pay each year for the next 5 years with the discount rate increase. on the second page I provided earlier.
But just for the public information, that's what it equates to more or less what we would need to pay to start paying down that debt, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. That is all. Thank you.
Okay. Let me ask a question about the obligation bond that's due next year. So I know that we pay, I'm not sure what we pay per annum, but can that also be used to pay down some of this amortization cost as well?
Yes, with the council's instruction and direction, we can use that 1.9 million to pay down the CalPlus funding liability.
And I said that all along, that we not lose track, our city council, that we definitely focus on that and not assume that that money could be used for something else, because that, of course, is the future of the retired employees here. So we need to make sure that we're on track on that. I mean, I'm just making reference to ourselves here.
I will make a note of that.
Okay.
As soon as we pay that off, I come back and bring back that item again, and with recommendations.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, anyone else have any questions? All right, if not, thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation as well.
It's been our pleasure. Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay, so at this point, we're going to go over to the consent calendar. So we have consent. The public hearing. That's right. Wait, thank you. Before I forget, we're having Mr. David Olivas, legal counsel. We have Mr. Robert Papa that is out today. So at this point, I would like to now open up the public communication. Anyone wishing to speak? You have approximately 3 minutes. Please state your name. Thank you. Good evening.
John Rios, resident. One of the things that I want to talk about is our police force, okay? They go out every day knowing it's a dangerous job and everything. It's like that gentleman that got killed last week in Whittier, you know. I've noticed that our police force right now, I don't know if they're down or up or whatever, doesn't matter. But I've noticed that the response time is very good, you know. One of the things I've noticed that if there's one police patrol, they'll always wait for the second one, which is very good, you know, because I would hate some like happened in Whittier, happened right here in Baldwin Park. It seems like, how can I put it, not to be very blunt, is we have a lot of wannabes out there, and they don't have respect for law enforcement. You know? And I would hate for any of our police force get shut down, okay? But what I've seen, and I've been all over the city and everything, like the shooting just around my block right there and everything, you know. And one of the things I've noticed that, like I said, they'll always wait for the second unit to be there, you know. And they don't go into an area without a backup, which is very good. Very good performance to my point of view. You know. Since you took over for Mr. Taylor, you know, but Mr. Taylor had put that in force too, you know, and everything that's up for, you know, management or anything, you know, lieutenants, captains and everything, you guys have people doing a very good job protecting our police force. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we'll allow the public communication. Oh, Mr. Alco, goodness.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, member of the council. First of all, a big thank you for you, the mayor and council, for the recognition I received on Monday. I really appreciate it, and most of you were there in attendance. Everyone was there in attendance, so I thank you all. So that's the good news. I really don't have no bad news. The other notice is Refugio Baca. I've known the Baca family. I've known him personally for at least 45 years. We go back when their children were in high school, when I was in high school. So please send our regrets and condolences to the Baca family. David, leave us. Get up there. And nice to see you up there. I haven't seen you for about 5 years or so. Nice to see you here too. Last but not least, I've always bugged you a little bit, and that's on your consent calendar. Your $594,868 as a consent item. It's kind of like a big item. I hope you can pull it out, give us an update. Is this going to be a CNG unit where everyone can buy gasoline? Is it for the employees only? You're going to have staff working? Or are you going to hire, it'll be a gas station that anyone can get gas? I think we need a little bit more information than just move consent items 1 through 9. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and staff. I'm Christina Larios, Library Manager at the Baldwin Park Library, and I'm here to introduce our new children and teen librarian, Julie McCaslin. She comes to us from the Diamond Bar Library. She was there for 12 years.
Wow.
12 years. She is wonderful, and she chose to come to our community to make a difference, and she's excellent, so I hope you all will get to know her, residents. Stop by and visit us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Looking forward.
We're looking forward to seeing you on
Yes,
Saturday.
that's right. I will be there. Thank you very much. All right. At this point, yes. Hey, Chief. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Lozano, council, staff, members of the audience. Jim Enriquez, LA County Fire Department. I serve as your local assistant fire chief. Just wanted to give you an update on our fire that we had on February 19th. As you know, we received a call on February 19th, which was Sunday night at 8:45 p.m. It was at 1464 Delwood Street, and this was a more than a routine incident. It was reported many people trapped when our station 29 arrived. Although you have one station, one thing that we do very well is LA County Fire Department, which in my opinion is the best fire department in the world that serves the city of Baldwin Park, that we can scale up very quick and very well. We do it all the time. We do it on routine incidents and we do it on major brush fires. And in this case, our ability to serve the city of Baldwin Park very well. When Station 29 arrived, they had 14 people on the balconies with smoke bellying over their shoulders, off their back, people hanging out the balconies, holding babies in car seats, getting ready to drop them from a 4-story unsprinkler building with a fire on the 3rd floor, blowing out the side, and fire lapping on the 4th floor. And I emphasize on sprinkler because this fire was not going to go out until we were able to get our personnel. We were able to control the fire within 15 minutes. We were able to, our first arriving engine company captain and subsequent battalion chiefs, we called for a second alarm, which automatically brought 10 engine companies, 4 trucks, 4 battalion chiefs, assistant chief, our urban search and rescue, our air and light and water, and our hazmat unit. In all, we had about 75 people there within about 25 minutes, 75 firefighters. So we controlled the fire within 15 minutes. We were able to evacuate everyone out of the building. Unfortunately, 9 people, actually it was just 9 individuals went to the hospital for smoke inhalation. Fortunately, no one was with any severe injuries or any burns. And no firefighters were hurt. And we were able to work with the building owner, subsequently the city of Baldwin Park, the building safety arrived. Baldwin Park PD provided the perimeter control and traffic control as we continue to mitigate and overhaul the building. Do you have any questions regarding that incident?
Well, first of all, thank you for that. I know that I believe we red tagged the building. Is it still red tagged? Okay,
Yes, it
so it's
is.
red tagged. Okay. All right. So does that mean that it's not occupied at all, period, or those specific
That is
floors?
correct. You cannot occupy a red tag building.
Thank you. Let me ask another question. So, were there sprinklers inside that?
No, that's what we call pre-existing non-conforming. It required, did have a fire alarm system that was activated. But when we see these motorized buildings, especially with numerous occupants, that just presents a different challenge than a 1 or 2 story because it's very labor intensive to get our personnel up in there with the hose packs and extend our hose lines. But fortunately, again, for the most part, we were able to rescue everybody off the balconies, everybody out, individual occupants from within the building self-occupied, but the hallway was charged with fire and smoke, and those were the ones that had to, on the 3rd floor, evacuated by way of our rescue personnel and our ladders from our truck companies.
So just want to advise that we obviously let's go to still red tag, and we will consult to see if there's any type of other areas. Because I know we've dealt with that particular building for quite some time. And of course, this is an indicator to me the potential of danger and safety to lives that are in those particular hotel there. So.
Yeah, as always, I'm always proud to remind you that I'm a product of Baldwin Park and graduate from Baldwin Park High School, and I grew up here. So I'm very fortunate. I feel privileged I get to continue to serve the community.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Yes,
I have a question, and maybe this is also to planning, but also, of course, to the fire chief. We have a lot of new 2-story homes that are going up, and it has been brought to my attention that if there should be a fire, there's no escape for those rooms up at the very top to exit out, not go through the house, but to exit through the window, or some type of an escape, like a ladder or something that they could have in case of a fire like that, so that they can get out or they can get to them.
So as of 2015, any new residential occupancies who are constructed now have sprinklers. So that is a good thing. Now, previous to that, for the most part, all the buildings that you have in Baldwin Park are built consistent with the new building code, which is much more stringent. And we do not have jurisdiction or authorization in somebody's private home. The things that we require for a apartment owner is that they have smoke detectors. And we do cursory inspections because we can't enter your home because it is a private property without a search warrant. That said, all 2-story buildings, commercial buildings, anything we do inspect. In fact, for 2016, we inspected 805 buildings, commercial buildings throughout the city of Baldwin Park, 100%, because there was an issue, recall, in San Francisco where we had a large life loss due to a uninspected apartment and facility, an unauthorized building. So I just want to assure you, and I was mentioning it to Mr. Yatsi, that we do inspections. We inspect every single business each year, and for 2016, here at Baldwin Park, our station personnel inspected 805 businesses throughout the. And we look for these. We specifically look for make sure that there's no blocked exits, because that's where people die when they're trying to get out and they see an exit sign and somehow it's locked. And we always make sure that, especially on these public assemblies with that have a potential for large loss, that's what we focus on. Make sure people can get out in a panic situation, whether fire, earthquake, or some other panic event. But I assure you, everything is, so far we have not found any egregious violations, and we work with the business owner. We do find some minor violations.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have any questions?
Mayor, I just want to thank the chief for giving us that report. And I saw it on the news, and we were getting the information as soon as our CEO is getting the information. So thank you for communicating those details to us. We really appreciate that. It's always so important for us to have that information, so that as I know I was getting calls from residents, and they were so panicked just to see what was happening on the news. So it was great that we were already equipped with that information. So thank you to your department for communicating that to us, and obviously to our CEO and to our PD for communicating. I just want to acknowledge that it is so great that you're our chief here in this region, and having grown up here in Baldwin Park and a product of Baldwin Park. And I just think that's such a special characteristic of our community. And you see that here. I've seen it even in the school districts with some of the individuals that I went to school with now teaching and as administrators, and just spread out throughout the community. And I think that's what makes our community very special. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank you again.
And for that reason, that's why it's special to me.
Mayor, I think that there should be some of these safety tips in the now so that people can sort of check your. I know that I've seen sometimes where they send you some notices. Your insurance company will send you like, make sure you check your battery. The best time to do it is at the beginning of daylight saving time or whatever it is. I think that those little hints, if we could put it on the now, I think that a lot of our residents will sort of see what some of the safety tips are in case of a fire or to prevent a fire.
We can communicate that. We have a person assigned in my office, and she's our community service representative, and that's exactly what she does. In fact, we've been very active in the region doing the CERT programs, and we've had some residents from Baldwin Park attend. And in fact, last year, just in the region, we trained up an additional 537 residents in the CERT program. Some are from Baldwin Park, and we use that, and the CERT community emergency response team are essential components of allowing us, both PD and fire, to augment our resources, especially in a time of major emergency.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, what along with public communication, anyone else wishes to speak?
Hello, City Council, residents of Baldwin Park. I can understand the fire chief's point of view that every day, every week, somebody in this country burns to death because they don't have a ladder, third floor, second floor, even on the ground floor. So I'm telling police chief and all you city council people, what are we going to do? We're going to wait till we have a massive murder? All these people burning this one. Good example. An airplane crashed a couple of days ago in Riverside with San Bernardino. You see how quick that building burned down? Number one, the plane was full of fuel. And number two, none of those people had floors to get through. They all lived on the ground floor. At least it looked that way. So we're saying like the Baldwin Park and Merced corner where you're putting those 3-story buildings, 2-story buildings, one way in, one way out. You people are really creating a hazard. I know, you got excuses for everything. But when these people die because they don't have a ladder to crawl out a window, I blame everybody. The fire department, the police department, especially the city council, because you allowed that to be built. And you had no regulations that if you lived on the third floor or the second floor, you must have an escape ladder. I know they cost millions of dollars, but that's okay. The city will be responsible for that. So don't you think the city planner, CEO, and all of you council people up there, don't you think it'd be worth to argue the point, do you want to die in that building, or do you want to crawl out a ladder on the third floor window? But it looks like to me, none of you really care. I haven't heard one of you, especially these people on this end, say, that sounds like a good idea. Senora Baca mentioned, because I got thrown out of a meeting because but you people have to remember, you live on the second floor, third floor, there's a fire and you can't get out, you're going to roast. Sad to say, you're going to die there. And you people should be responsible. That's what's wrong with this country. We don't make city councils or government officials responsible for what they do or don't do. I know my 3 seconds are almost up. But you people think about that when you go to bed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I beat them.
All right, thank you.
President. Well, you have to understand they don't care about campaign contributions. They don't care if anybody burns nothing there. As long as they get their money under the table in other ways. Right? That's the way it works. Let's talk about Trump. He seems to, everything he said he was going to do, he's well on his way to doing it. As for the enforcing the immigration laws we already have that haven't been enforced for the last 40 years or so, the bad ones are being thrown out, and that's just the way it should be. Now I know there's people that play on your fears that everybody's going to be thrown out of the country that's here illegally. He's after the criminals. You play on people's fear. You do it to your own kind. That's the ironic thing. Like cutting down the trees. It'd be better to spend the money on this audio system, but no, you'd rather not water the trees. Governor Brown said trees could be watered on the medians. San Bernardino does it. Why didn't you do it? Because you didn't give a damn. That's why. You'd rather cut them all down, and now it's all barren over here. I saw it the first time today. No water, everything dies. And that's what you want. Maybe you need more stuff to put on there so when you be reelected, you can say, oh, we planted new trees. But it's going to take them 20 years, maybe longer, to mature to the size those trees were. The youth here needs those trees to clean the dirty air in this valley. Because you don't care. Because if you cared, you would have watered those trees. The animals that lived up there, the squirrels and the birds, things like that, they're homeless now. Thanks to the city council. We know the three that always vote the same way. I see that you have Olivas here. Maybe he can go down and collaborate with the illegal aliens and the illegal people like he did years ago at the Starbucks. I didn't recognize him. I recognized his car. So it's fitting he's here. Oh, it lost its volume, huh? Because you didn't like what I had to say. Trump's going to clean house. As for your budget, have you planned for when he pulls out the federal funds? Have you planned for that? Because he's going to take it away. As for Mexico down there saying, oh, well, we don't need the United States money. Good, cut it off. Use the money to build a wall down here. And any other country that decides to thumb its nose at us over here. He doesn't take care of a lot of other little things, too. The anchor babies. Not just south of the border, other places too. They're coming over from China and other places. This isn't just Mexico, it's other places too. They're going to take care of all that. And it's high time. I haven't waited 30 years for somebody to get in there and do something about all these things. Okay, time's up.
All right, thank you very much. All right, move on with public communication. Thank you. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. My name is...
Hello, great. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, citizens, residents of Baldwin Park. My name is Jared Briseño. I am a resident of Baldwin Park. We bought our home here now 2 years ago. We have a 9-year-old that goes to Central Elementary. So part of a little bit about me, I manage business relationships out of South Pasadena. My portfolio of clients range from anywhere from 500,000 annual gross sales to about $10 million. So I'm well versed in finances and in business. What I wanted to come up here and say is we are going to open up a new restaurant named La Cosita. It's family owned. It's the first generation. I'm first generation. My mother is second generation cook. She has 30 years of experience. It's one of her dreams that she's always wanted to do. With the support of my girlfriend Tracy, we've been able to leverage our good name, our credit, really work hard so we can make dreams come true. Part of what I wanted to say is just more than anything that the city of Baldwin Park has a lot of opportunity to become successful. One of the things that I've noticed, a lot of our residents here actually commute a couple minutes down the road to West Covina to eat, to shop, and instead of kind of saying problems that we have, I would like to provide solutions. And one of the things that we wanted to do is set up a business, show a good a mock-up or role model of a business that's successful. And one of the things that we've been doing is definitely leveraging social media outlets, Yelp primarily. And I wanted just to reiterate that just because we are a city that has issues like any other city, rather than kind of coming up here and just kind of pointing out the problems, I'd love for us to come up with solutions And one of the solutions that I've kind of noticed is that if we can help each other, support each other, we're going to do great. One of the things that I wanted to highlight is actually the success that we've had. We have people coming from Laverne, people coming from LAX, people coming from a long way, and primarily just because of the great service that we provide, excellent food, and more than anything, the understanding of good business. And what I wanted just to reiterate is that I'm a member of the community. I want to be here to support. You guys are more than welcome to go out to my business, ask for my business card. I'll provide free financial reviews, anything that you guys need around finance. But more than anything, I want to provide solutions to help the community thrive. I know that we had a lot of issues in getting started, but I definitely want to thank the people that did help us, like Amy, Dave, some council members, Cruz, Susan. I really appreciate you guys helping us with our support. But I did want to, again, reiterate that if any business owner has any issue around finances or business, I'd really love the opportunity to be out there and to help them out, troubleshoot their issues. I have clients that range from CPAs, attorneys, doctors. There are people in different industries in general. But again, I just wanted to just invite you guys to have a grand opening on the 9th of March, which is on Thursday. And that's my time. You guys have a good evening.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Looking forward.
By the way, the food is incredible.
Is it? Do they have homemade tortillas?
Yes.
Oh, homemade tortillas. De harina or de maíz? Both. Whoa, that's a rarity. All right, thank you. Looking forward for some frijoles. All right, thank you very much.
What is that, la olla?
La olla, that's right. Thank you very much. That's right next to Business 19. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. This one, anyone else wishes to speak? If not, I now declare public communication. Huh?
Not getting there.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Hurry up, Margarita. Pícale.
Good evening, I'm Margarita Vargas. I'm the president of the Baldwin Women's Club, and I'd just like to invite all of you and the audience. On the 16th of March, we're having our dinner that we have every year to fundraise money for the scholarships that we give to the seniors for Baldwin Park High School and Sierra Vista High School. That's the only fundraiser that we do to raise $5,000 or $6,000. Those are the scholarships that we give to the students. $1,000 to each student. They're going to college. So I'd like to invite you, and if you wanna make a reservation, because we need to know how many people. Because it's a sweet steak, and so they buy the steaks that we're gonna sell. They don't wanna buy more than we need. So I'm gonna give you the phone number, so you're gonna make a reservation, or you can find me. You know where I am. It's 626-826-0921.
We get the city clerk.
And it's from Thursday, the March 15th, from 4, starting 4 until the 16th, to 8 or 9, it depends, when. But you can go, and you don't want to stay there, you can pick it up, and we preparing to go. So, and you don't want to dinner, just donate $25 for a ticket, and so just so you can cooperate with the fundraiser.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, moving on to public communication. See no further interest, and I declare the public communication closed. Mr. Tuttle, here? I'm here. Oh, okay. Oh. All right. I didn't see you over there. All right.
Thank you. Just really quickly, I'm sorry I didn't mention this earlier, but I do know that we just lost a police officer in the city of Whittier, and as I know, police officers are very close. They're all family, no matter what city they're from. And so I think on behalf of our city, I would love to send our condolences to the family on behalf of this police department as well as the city council. And that's my request. Secondly, I also heard something about the trees. Just so the audience members as well as those at home, I know that there's been a lot of concern about the trees coming down, and as a council we have the same concerns. So we set up a special meeting earlier today to have the presentation of the individuals who are undertaking this project, and they did share with us why those trees are coming down. And just to share very quickly, 25 I think are left to be removed, but they're going to be replaced with 416 trees. And there's a lot of reasons behind them. A lot of them are sick trees that may fall and hurt people. Anyhow, just wanted to share with you that it will be on the website, and we're also going to have it in our newspaper, so you could always read the information to find out yourselves. And we are looking into sending a letter to all the residents in the community to make sure that they receive the information and are able to understand the process. It is going to be a little bit of a process, so we hope that the residents are patient with us. So you will see the trees come down, but shortly after we'll see beautiful trees all over the meetings and all over the city of Baldwin Park. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Yes, it is.
I just want to also explain that because also I have gotten a lot of calls that no pines are going down. So if you see a beautiful tree and other trees have been cut down, the pines will not come down. Also, if you pay attention to the median on Ramona Boulevard and Baldwin Park Boulevard, they have a really pretty sign with its color that will tell you more or less what type of trees they are going to be using and what it will look like. So please pay attention to that if residents come up to you. I'm giving them to the signs. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go over to consent.
Mayor, I just also wanted to.
Oh, yeah, let me.
Yes, okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I know that there was a concern about item number 9 on the agenda, the consent, on the Galileo technology system. There was about, maybe 2 meetings about that and discussed the system here at city council members. And so there was some changes to be made in that, bringing that unit instead of the front of the county building into the back. So those were some of the items that we had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Also, to sort of also what Councilmember Pacheco said, it will be able to be moved. Upon the event that we need to move it, it will be very easy to move it and at very low cost. So it's not, even though it will be there, it can be moved. A lot of people were asking me, is there a possibility that this could be moved at some time? So that's also what was discussed.
Yeah, and it is going to be open for the general public, so anyone with a CNG vehicle is welcome to fill up there. So I think that'll be interesting.
Right. Mayor, I guess just the point was we did discuss it extensively,
yes.
And it's on consent calendar, but it was talked about in public.
Okay. All right. Before going to the consent calendar, let me just follow up because someone asked me about the district attorney's finding, and I know that was aired in the newspaper. That read in the quotes, while workplace harassment, particularly involving elected officials, is reprehensible, the conduct described here, even if proved, does not constitute a crime. Lacey, which is the district attorney, LA County, wrote in February, based on the evidence was provided, no criminal act can be proved. Therefore, we will not take action in this matter. So someone asked me earlier, and I just want to. It was in the actual local paper as well. That's on the website.
But I do want to clarify that it is a civil and that it has to be taken care of internally within the department, within the city of Baldwin Park.
And I think that you noted that in
yes, I did.
Will definitely address that at the end. Thank you very much, Councilmember Cruz-Baca. All right, so at this point, we'll go into consent calendar items 1 through 9. Council members wish to pull any item?
I do want to pull 9.
9? Okay, all right.
And I would like to pull 10 just for clarification, which is the CDBG, right?
No, that's public hearing.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. All right, so we'll go. Anyone else wishes to pull any other items? If not, at this, go ahead.
I have a question on 4 and 5 because that's another one that's posed questions to me.
All right. So at this point, I will go ahead and move for approval of the consent calendar items. Consent calendar with the exception of item 4, 5, and 9. That is my motion.
Second.
Any objections? See none, so moved. All right. The first one, Councilman Cruz-Baca, item 4, which is the approved parcel map number 1421.
Amy, I think you can answer this, and I know you've answered it for me before many times, and I apologize, but I'm still being asked. So for the public or for the record, could you please explain again what these parcels are either tentatively thought of being used for and why they're being combined? Thank you.
Number 4, which is parcel map 1421, I believe that's the one on Fuente. And that is actually a 4-unit residential condominium. The one on parcel map 1425 is near Sparland and Foster, and that is 2 single-family residential dwelling units.
All right, thank you, and I make a motion that we go ahead and approve that.
All right. Ms. Second, any objections? Seen none, so moved. Item number 5, requested also by Councilor Blanca, approve parcel map number 1425.
That was already, Amy already answered, so I approve both 4 and 5.
I'll second. Any objections? Oh, it was for both?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right. At this point, item number 9, which is approve and authorize the purchase of the Galileo Technologies Microbox refueling station system. So at this point, we're going to have Councilmember Susan Rubio for the discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to pull this because, clearly when there's questions, perhaps as council members and Mayor and myself, we understand the issues. I just want to clarify, Alvin Vidas mentioned the almost $600,000. So first and foremost, just to be responsive to our community, I want to make sure that they know where the funding came from because not all of it came from the city. So just for clarification purposes, I really want to share with the grants that we got, who's paying for it, and what the timeline's going to be. And if there's any more questions, I'll ask them then. Thank you, Sam. Can you share with us?
Sure, absolutely. So the funding is a 3-part interagency funding. The first one is AQMB through their MSRC committee have given the city a grant for $400,000. Then in partnership with Los Angeles County, they will be bringing in $400,000, and the city will be putting $400,000 from the Prop C. So the total project is $1.2 million estimated.
Thank you. So just again, for the public's knowledge and for residents that are concerned, not all the money is coming, first of all, from the general fund, and so a large portion is coming from grants, and even though we're paying for some of it, it is coming from Prop C, so it will not impact our general fund. Thank you. If there's any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them later. Thank you, Sam.
All right. Thank you very much. This one, we want to make a motion.
I'll make the motion, and just for clarification also, Mayor, it is open for the public to use, and it's going to be built in the next coming year. Thank you, and I'll make a motion to pass.
All right. Okay. Any objections? Seen none, so moved. All right, the next one.
Just for the record,
Yes,
items 4 and 5 were approved under one motion?
Yes.
Is that correct?
No, because they call them separate.
No, we're separate.
So we need to
But you
identify.
answered-
Thank you, because
Sorry,
when I said
you
yeah.
answered both questions.
So at this point, we'll go ahead and make approval of parcel number 1425. That's my motion.
Second.
Any objections? Seen none, so moved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, the next one is the public hearing. The public hearing regarding the fiscal year 2017-2018 Community Development Block Grant CDBG and Home Investment Partnership Fund Home Annual Action Plan. Normally, what we do here is actually hear the individuals out and bring this back again to the following meeting, but technically we could decide. I think it'd be best hear them out and bring it back to the next one, and like we traditionally have done.
I agree
We make
with
our
that.
decision, exactly. So at this point, we're going to have Ms. Susan Morales. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Tonight's hearing is the first of 2 public hearings. Just to clarify, though, there will be another public hearing required. What you do is continuing this one.
Right.
So the final will be in May. Is required by HUD, providing residents an opportunity to comment on proposed CDBG funded projects under fiscal year 2017-18 annual action plan. Because HUD has not yet announced allocations for 17-18, in order to meet the required time for meeting and meet the May 15th due date, we have to consider this year the CDBGs. We have to consider last year's CDBG and home HUD allocations for this process. The specific item under consideration tonight is the funding for public service programs. As a reminder, the maximum amount of funding the city may provide to public service programs is 15% of its annual CDBG allocation. This year, that's assumed at about $141,000. If remaining in pattern with previous years, it's likely the city can once again expect another reduction of funding from HUD, and which will also reduce the amount available for public services. We're hoping the allocations will be announced shortly, and will present the actual amounts at the city to the City Council at the final hearing in May. unless we have it by next week. As required, by next city council meeting. As required, the CDBG Advisory Committee held 2 public meetings and approved the final recommendations for funding on February 6th. The participation and input of each commissioner this year was again very impressive and much appreciated. They asked all the right questions. They're really great commissioners. The recommendation for all programs funded with CDBG and Home can be located throughout the staff report under specific project tables. The table reflecting the public service funding recommendations can be found on page 3. Applicant agencies were notified of the meeting, and I do see some in attendance. I can let you know that St. John's did call or send us an email that Mike is not feeling well, so he asked to be excused for tonight and asked me to answer any questions you may have about St. John's, if there are any. The City Council is now requested to open the public hearing, receive presentations from applicants, and accept public comments. Upon closing the hearing, the City Council requested to select either option 1, approving as recommended by the CDBG Advisory Committee, or option 2, revising and approving allocations as City Council deems appropriate. I'm here if you have any questions.
All right. Now, at this point, let's go ahead and open up. We'll have the various organizations come up and speak on behalf of their particular organization. So at this point, I will open up the public hearing for the individuals that are representing the various organizations. So at this point, go ahead and ask whomever wants to come up. Anyone want to come up? Any represent your organizations for the funds? Oh, Church of the Redeemer, yeah. Dr. Rodas. Almost forgot his name there. Do you? Go to the PD.
Thank you for the opportunity to share. Once again, I'm Paul Flores, pastor of Church of the Redeemer in Baldwin Park, and we're here celebrating our 50th year as a church. I do want to thank those of you that were able to attend our celebration back in November. It's a great privilege to host all of you, as always. I'm here to speak on behalf of our community food bank. We've been feeding the city of Baldwin Park for at least 25 years, and part of that has been part of the DBG funding, which we greatly appreciated. So we've submitted, once again, a request to continue that partnership. We thank you for that funding. Our history goes back to a dear elderly lady named Ruth Davila, who now I think is approaching 100 years old. But she has passed down the legacy of serving the city to people like Cecilia Bernal and others. So we're very grateful for that. We are a multi-generational church, and we do multi-generational service as well too. We're also multicultural. We do feed those who speak English, those who speak Spanish, those who speak Mandarin, and as the city of Baldwin Park becomes more diverse, the challenges increase as well too. Myself, I've grown up in Baldwin Park. We're committed to Baldwin Park as a church, and myself as well in serving the city of Baldwin Park. We've expanded to various other programs as well too, just to kind of show the bigger picture of who we are as a church, and we're here to serve the city. So I just want to thank you for your commitment and partnership, and I want to thank for all those who play a role in all this that we do. We have requested an additional amount. That's what's been recommended. So I trust that you would consider that and make the right decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Are we allowed any questions? I have a question.
Sure.
Oh,
absolutely. Yes,
sorry. On what days exactly do you do the food bank? Because with our homeless problem, sometimes people are looking for somewhere other than, whatever the other, and I never know what days you're there so that I can send them over there.
We do. We actually serve every day. So if someone needs food on like that day, they can just call the office. Generally open 9 to 1, and either we'll have it there or they can come the next day. We do a larger distribution the last Saturday of every month, and every Thursday night as well too. So generally, the regular clientele come the last Saturday, but we pretty much serve at least one box every day throughout the course of the week.
Okay, so it's just staples, like, non-perishables, is that what you?
Correct. And then whatever the food bank has, Food Bank of Los Angeles County. And then we're able to get a discount rate because of being a nonprofit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much. All right, at this point, moving along, anyone else wishing to come up here and represent your organization? Really?
I know, I saw another one, but
I know.
Oh,
This is the first time. This is the first time we don't get this. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else under the CDBG here to speak on behalf of your organization? Wow, this is the first time ever.
They're I think because they're so they're the same ones. They're common.
Oh, okay.
So they just.
Thank you, Dr. Flores, for all that you do for our community.
Yes,
I know that you work hard, and so does the congregation. So thank you on behalf of the council.
So
I do also know that
Yes.
the homeless this is their busy time. This is their busy season. The
Yes.
Homeless Coalition.
Yes.
So they
That's a facility, by the way. All right. So what we'll do at this point, unless council members have any questions, and now we're going to bring this back to the following meeting, and from there we'll determine whether we will go with the recommendation by the commissioner. First of all, I want to thank the commissioners that participated in this, and I know we have Ms. Ayala and also Mr. Rodriguez. Who else am I missing? Excuse me? Oh, yeah, you're right. Yes, yeah. Thank you very much. I want to thank you.
I do have a question. Not a question, but Susie, do you mind explaining to the public, only because I look at the recommendation and I really want people to understand the process and how hard you work. I've been there and I've seen it, and they're not here, but they do petition, with you guys during the commission meeting, and they take a long time to vet, the people and look at all the items carefully. So I never want to dismiss the work that you do, because I've been there. It's long, it's tedious, and they put a lot of work into it, so it's not something that just appears. They took quite a bit of time putting it together. So thank you, and once again, I don't want to dismiss, the quality of work that you put into making the decision. Thank you.
As always, thank you very much, Susie. All right, so at this point, I will now close the public hearing, and we'll go ahead and move forward, and looking forward to once this comes back to us for further consideration and our suggestions. So at this point, we'll go over to the reports of officers, number 11, which is the consideration of employment agreement with David Salcido for the position Chief of Police. So at this point, unless anyone has any questions, I'm going to make a motion. We've already made a public motion to hire him as the Baldwin Police Chief. That is my motion.
Second.
Second, any objection?
Yes.
Okay. At this point, Madam City Clerk, if there is an objection, so we'll take a roll call. This is for the agreement contract for Mr. David Salcido, Inglewood Police Department Captain, to the police chief for the city of Baldwin Park.
Mayor Manuel Lozano,
Yes.
Councilmember Ricardo Pacheco,
Yes.
Councilmember Cruz Baca,
No.
Councilmember Monica Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Susan Rubio.
Mayor, I would like the opportunity for discussion.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, for me, like I said, I respect him.
Yes.
I respect, Mr. Salcido, but, as we've already discussed, and we had a special meeting over this, and personally, although I want to support it, I really just can't support this salary at this time. I've expressed that, like, by way of example for me, like the city of Amani, who has almost 40,000 residents more than the city of Baldwin Park, is making way less than what we're proposing at this time. And so I believe that at this time I can't support it. We're starting at the higher end of the salary scale, which I believe is inappropriate. I think we need to make sure that, first we see the quality of work, and then we see how it works. For me, it's not necessarily a person, but I really just can't support the high salary that we're providing. So with that, I'll say no. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Yes, Councilmember.
I also want to clarify. I also want to clarify my decision, and it was based on also a financial.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was also a financial issue. I believe that the previous chief that left after 35 years and being a chief started with a higher salary, and I felt that it was not fair to bring in a new person with the high salary that the other chief left with. So for me, it is still a financial issue that I have always fought for that for the people in the city of Baldwin Park.
Okay, it's mine now. Okay, hold on. Just want to go for the record so that I explain to let everyone know. Obviously, Captain Salcido, long term, are actually taking a drop in pay and coming as the chief of police of the city of Baldwin Park. The Almani police chief is making $186,996 with total pay for all the benefits. It's $221,648,000. We've hired our current police chief at $192,766.80, and with all the benefits, he is at $216,975, so less than the chief of El Monte. We must remember the previous chief came in, total that he had was $235,000. So we're talking a substantial amount less that we're bringing in this current chief versus the previous chief that has left the city of Baldwin Park, just so that the record is set straight. Yes. Yes.
I need to clarify, only because the residents are probably going to hear this. When the chief left here, he was making the 230 something. He started with 165,000, and his total with benefits was 184,000 when he started as a chief in 2013. The city of El Monte has 40,000 residents more than we do, which means that Chief Reynoso has more officers to look at and to deal with as well. So I need to clarify that our previous chief started at 165 with benefits 184, and he did leave with that salary, but after spending 35 years on our force. Thank you.
Can you clarify, Shannon, if you please?
I have a figure here that says that the Almani is a total of $203,000 with benefits, not the salary that was just stated right here. Shannon, isn't it $203,000?
Okay, hold on. Let me just.
For clarification, I had it right here. It's $203,000. So it's $13,000 less that they're making in Almani, with 40,000 more residents. Thank you.
I did stand corrected, 203,000. Okay, so I do stand corrected. 200. Yes, David will be making more than the chief of police of Almani.
Mayor,
yes.
I think it's important to note that we looked at a pool of excellent candidates, and they were all at a very top tier when it comes to salary. So in the analysis and in determining the new chief's salary and benefits, we did take an average of the San Diego Valley. We took into consideration Almani, Colonia, Azusa, and some other surrounding cities, Glendora, Pomona, Arcadia, Azusa, Claremont, West Covina, Laverne, San Diego, Monterey Park, Monrovia. And so in looking at that, the average, when you average out these cities, the average is 221,648. So we want to be competitive. We looked at candidates that were extremely competitive, that were excellent, and it was a difficult decision to make. But if we're going to attract a top tier chief, then we also have to look at what is the average. We are below the average, and I think that's appropriate for the city of Baldwin Park. I don't think I could justify going above the average because it would be, I think, irresponsible. But I just want to point out that we did an analysis. Every candidate that we met with was above the tier that we are currently, the previous chief where he started, and the previous chief before that where she started. So unfortunately, that's just a reality of what we have to deal with. And I really do believe that any chief that we were, that we move forward with, it would be the same conversation. This new chief is coming in. He's taking a significant reduction in pay. And I want to also point that out because that would have been the case with every one of these candidates. The question then becomes to them, why are they here? They're here to serve our community. And I think that they have a very high-level, responsible position. And so we need to compensate accordingly, as well as what is the average in the region. So I think it was fair. As far as salary, I want to say that the average salary in the region is $200,000 and some change. Our chief is coming in at $192,000. So again, we are below the average when it comes to salary and benefits, and I think that's appropriate. Had we not been competitive, then I don't know where we would be as far as the process, because every candidate that we interviewed was at a very high level, top tier. Thank you.
Let me just yes, go allow Councilmember Cruz. Go ahead.
I have to really say that if it would have been any other candidate, which we did have some really qualified candidates that applied for this position that were in the top two, that we would not be discussing the salary. It would have been approached that they get the 165, which is what Chief Taylor started with in 2013. There would have been no discussion about giving he or she any more money. This is something that I really feel very strongly, that I really believe that when someone is coming in, they know that they're going to take a cut either in the overtime or their pay, but they also have the title of chief that comes into, especially in a small city like Baldwin Park. So I really do believe that, and I stand very strongly, that I did not feel comfortable giving more than what our previous chief had started with, which was 165 plus the benefits.
I think when we're looking at evaluating our chief, we're also looking at comparing 2013 what the rate, because we gave our entry-level chief at that point, and now we're in 2017. So there obviously there's going to be an offset and an increase in how much we're paying our chief today. The wages have gone up as the minimum wage goes up, and the wage for the chief, especially executives at the municipal level, the rate goes probably up. We're also looking at quality and the types of candidates that we're trying to attract. And Mr. Salcedo has a very strong background, he has a lot of certifications in policing, he has a bachelor's and master's degree, comes with many years of experience in a much larger city than Baldwin Park, and a lot of work, much more sophisticated types of tasks in policing that we can able to hear. So I think we're getting a great bargain, because obviously he's taking a cut of pay, but at the same time, I think that throughout the process that we're looking at different candidates, he has shown and demonstrated a lot of commitment here, and a lot of, he's really ready, even before we got here, to put the research, the time in, to understand our city, and I really have faith. He's doing a great job, he's doing the work well with our police department, and serve our community well. So thank you, and welcome on.
Mayor, I'll just make one last comment, and then that will be my last comment. Just for clarification purposes, because things start getting a little confusing. When our previous chief left, he was making $192,766, which is the base salary that Mr. Salcedo will be starting with. But this is a gentleman that worked in our community for over 30 years. Not only did he work over 30 years, he was a captain, but also was the chief for 2 years. And he got that salary after proving himself as a chief, then he got the raise. On top of that, he was an interim city manager. So when you put all that together, that's the salary he was making. And so we're starting the next chief at that high salary that we gave that person after 30 years and all the work that he put into this community. He had to prove himself. He started at 165, and we're not opposed to looking at the salary later on, making sure that it's a good fit and that we can compensate him. I believe he's qualified. I believe he has experience and all the tactical experience that you mentioned. But like any other job, you always start at the bottom scale and there's room for salary increases. But most of the time, you want to make sure that, they're able to show that work, and then you compensate them. That's what we did with Mike Taylor. And like I said, he was here for 30 years. It's a big difference. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
I also want to mention that it is true the salary was $192, but Mike Taylor's benefits were $40,000 plus. And what we did in reviewing this position, we reduced that because I think we're trying to be responsible, but we're also trying to attract top candidates. And the truth and the reality is that based on the candidates that we interviewed, they probably would have walked away if there was a significant reduction. So I think that the salary of $192 is competitive. We did reduce the benefits that Mike Taylor had by at least $20,000. And so the salary and benefits that we're offering in the new chief is below the average for the San Diego Valley. And it's, we felt it was responsible for our community. The new chief is taking a pay cut, as I think every one of those candidates would have. And we're also using figures from 4 years ago. So when Mike Taylor was hired, it was 2013. That was 4 years ago. We've also used figures from our chief, Lily Hatzel. That was about 10 years ago. So we have to look at the market as it is today, and we have to look at what's competitive and what will attract the best candidates at a responsible, salary to best serve our community. And I stand by that. Thank you.
Yes.
I think it's wrong to make an assumption that the other candidates would have refused because they were never asked. So I think that that's very false because we do not know what those other candidates would have taken. That is strictly Councilmember Garcia's assumption.
Mayor, let me just say, the reason why I made that statement is because almost every candidate that we interviewed was above the salary. That's the point that I'm making here. So if the scenario where we offered our candidate a salary, he's taking a reduction, I mean, that's a good scenario. But again, every candidate that we interviewed was above the salary that we were offering.
But they were all very qualified, as we all know. They were all very qualified, and two of them said they would accept the salary we had proposed originally. So, again, this is a conversation we're having after the fact that they all knew. One of the questions I asked, but why do you want to take a pay cut? And they said that they were just committed to the job. It was important for them to be chiefs as they, ended their career. They really wanted to put the time and effort into a community that they loved and believed in. So, again, they had mentioned they would accept the salary we had proposed. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Yeah, I just want to say that. I just want to. City of Inglewood, I believe, has 186 sworn officers. Am I correct? We were wrong on that sheet. Someone that's sitting? How many?
It's 170.
Okay, 170. Of course, the captain, I believe you guys have 5 captains there?
4.
Well, 4 captains. So, I mean, we look at that. We look at the amount of money. And certainly, of course, he's come here and taken a major drop in pay to get this actual position. But let me just also. I won't mention the name, but if we look, we're talking about the previous chief. Of course, he was appointed when he was administrative lead, ended up in the hallway somehow and was appointed. So, and of course, now we're in a lawsuit that's literally going to cost the city millions of dollars for the dismissal, or I should say the firing of the first Latina ever police chief in the history of the city of Baldwin Park. So I just want to end it there because we could be here all night debating back and forth. I want to move forward. This is an opportunity. I know you've been out in the community and you've embraced a lot of people there. And of course, thank you for making the choice of coming here to the city of Baldwin Park. And we look forward to working with you, each and every one of us, regardless of our opinions up here. There's 5 individuals you're going to serve. And we're going to work with you and hopefully that you bring this police department, enhance it. It's the top notch right now because it's definitely proven by the various types of commercial centers that have come to Ballpark. It's basically because of these particular men and women that have literally busted out their rear ends and dropped that crime. Because some of you that are here, I know you guys know, back in when I came to Ballpark, 1979, 1992, when the outcome of crime was incredible. So I want to pay tribute to each police officer that has been a part of the city and that has really broken through and safeguarded our community to the point that we're having a lot of people wanting first choice to move to Baldwin Park, and that says a lot. So I want to thank you at that part. So at this point, the motion. What was your motion at this point? Councilmember Susan Rubio, because we.
I would decline on the basis of the salary. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. So decline based on the salary. So at this point, the motion passes 3-2. All right. So congratulations to you. All right, so at this point, let's go over to the reports of officers, the 11th consideration of employment agreement, 12, fiscal year 2015-16 mid-year budget presentation. Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council and staff and residents of the Baldwin Park. I'm going to present the fiscal 2016-17 mid-year budget performance and projection for the remaining fiscal year. And since the city's most operation services are provided through the general fund, so tonight we are going to focus talking about the general fund. And the remaining other funds and more details are provided in the staff reports, and I am welcome to any questions you may have. And you may interrupt me anytime during the presentation with any questions that you have.
All right.
So first we are talking about the general fund revenue, and we expect it to have about $200,000 increase in property tax due to the continued increase in property value. And we expect to have about $180,000 decrease in fines and penalties, mainly due to the vehicle code violation, because we have the unfilled vacancy from the traffic police officer. And we also expecting about $30,000 in use and money or property due to the facility rental. We are going to expect to have about $53,000 increase in charges for services because of the increase in pen check fee. And also about $71,000 in miscellaneous, which from the pass-through money from the successor agency and vehicle license fees. So with that, we are going to expect to have about $111,000 total increase by the end of the fiscal year in revenue. Now we're going to talk about the general fund expenditures, and we expect to have about $5,000 in increase in personnel costs, mainly came from the legal fees, and also majority of the increase in $360,000 that allocated to operation and maintenance. Majority of the costs are projection from legal fee, which including personnel, litigation, and big portion of that are from projected from the MRF project in Irvine. And the $7,000 is for the social media project, and about $7,500 is for the California consultants to take up the grant writing for all the departments. However, with that, the city saved up about $12,000 for the fiscal year to maintain one consultant company to do the grant writing for the whole city. So with that, we expecting to have about $376,000 increase for this current fiscal year. Any questions? Okay. So with the general fund expenditure broken down by department, and same, we have about $300,000 for the administration. Mainly is the same from the legal fee that we allocated to each department, and for with about $5,000 for community development, and that's the allocation from the California consultant company. And also the police will expecting about additional $54,000 in legal fee, and about $6,000 for non-departmental is from the social media outlet project. And for the public works, we expecting $11,000 increase. Part of that is the additional $5,000 for having the additional engineering assistant position. So that's the total summary of the general fund expenditure projection by department.
Rose, I have a question.
Yes.
How come Parks and Rec doesn't have an increase like some of the other departments? See, there's nothing in their column for proposed increase.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's no projected increase in their column for Parks and Rec in comparison to, say, Public Works and some of the other departments.
Yes. Based on the current activities through December and the overall department's projection will be stay within the budget. And with a combination of their revenues and expenditures, and they expecting to stay within the budget because they have other increases in other programs.
Thank you.
All right, council members, have any further questions? All right, if not, at this point, do we need a motion or just?
Yes, a motion to approve the mid-year revenue and.
She's done.
Were you finished?
No.
Oh, I think so. Oh, okay, all right.
So, with the summary for general fund operating performance overview, and the bottom line is we are going to have expecting a shortfall with $324,000, which are much lower than the previous study projection that was done a couple years ago due to the increase in calculus costs. As the auditor did the audit throughout the full fiscal year, they also mentioned the previous projection was $2 million to $4 million. Working with all the departments, we continue to try to monitor and control expenditures and strive to seek additional revenue to achieve a balanced budget with the guidance of the City Council, and we will continue to support the vision and service in the best interest of the residents and business owners of the City of Baldwin Park. And then the department head might want to talk about their accomplishments.
Yeah, we do have, and it's attached to your handout, and it is in the slideshow. We have a list of accomplishments that was asked for from each city, if you wish. You can go. We can go through those one by one. It's from each department. Yeah, and each department.
Why don't we do that?
Prepared to talk briefly about those. So
we briefly and get.
I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Rose, what happens upon the event that a department goes over what the proposed increase is? Let's say for some reason someone goes over by $2,000 or $3,000 and what was proposed there. What happens then?
The department head has the authority based on the city's policy. if we go over or under $10,000, the department has the authority to approve the expenditure. And Shannon will have, our CEO will have the authority to approve anything under $25,000. Anything exceeds to that, it has to go through the city council for their approval.
And I can add, Rose and I are going to be working with all of the departments throughout the next few months till the end of the year to try to reduce costs, try to bring this deficit down as much as possible, and to avoid any of those additional cost increases.
Right, because that's the one thing that concerns me is that let's just say that there's some unexpected cost and you've budgeted everything and then all of a sudden they're allowed to sign up to $120,000. So now some of this budget could go up really, really high in comparison to what was budgeted. See, that's what concerns me. How do we regulate that they don't have to go up to the $120,000?
Mayor?
Yes,
I was actually going to ask if Shannon would repeat what Rose stated about the $25,000 discretion, and then beyond that, then it comes to city council, and what is the process?
Excuse me, I would like for her to answer my question first, though, because this has to do with the $120,000 that will segue into the 25.
Well,
so
I think it's the reverse, but go ahead.
All right, go ahead, Rose.
Actually, currently, Shannon and I have been working with all the departments, and I keep reviewing their expenditure every time they submit the requisition. We make sure that all the departments are following their approved budget when they spend money in different projects or expenses or buying equipment. We want to make sure that they follow what they have approved to spend.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Shannon, for clarifying that you will be working in trying to bring some of those costs down.
All right, so at this point, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Shannon, can you give us just that brief overview of the $25,000 discretion
And include the $120,000?
Sure, and that's referring to contracts or purchasing or spending limits. The city code allows the CEO or myself to approve contracts and expenditures up to $24,999, and it allows directors to approve contracts and expenditures up to $10,000, and it's $9,999. There are 3 engineering contracts approved by council that allow it's mostly public works contracts, allows that director to approve task orders to those 3 contracts for up to $125,000. But that's a little bit different because we're talking about budgeting tonight. That does not allow the director to go over budget. He would have to have that money within his budget to spend those funds. So this is a little bit different. So there are some checks and balances, and even though we are allowed to spend up to those certain amounts, we're still restricted by the budget that the city council has approved for us. So if we were to need to let a contract for $125,000, which is not in the budget, we would have to come to you and ask that money be appropriated into the budget before we do so.
Well, thank you. And even though we understand it up here, and we should understand it if we don't, but I wanted to be sure that the audience and also the people listening to this audio would understand how it's budgeted and so forth. So thank you very much for clarifying that.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry also to clarify, thank you, because it is important to know that City Council, we approve the budget here, and then there's a discussion at the Director of Public Works, but it's not the reverse.
All right, thank you very much. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so you want to talk about this slide, Rose, or going to the accomplishments?
We are going to talk about the accomplishment. That slide is just for information.
Okay.
And, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll go ahead and start. The CEO's office oversees information services, HR, and the administration functions of the city. We've initiated several training courses for employees, defensive drivers training for all city employees to reduce city liability. That's at no cost to the city. Also, we conduct our semi-annual sexual harassment training for employees. One thing I was asked to do when I first came to the city is start up street paving again. So I worked with Finance and Public Works to put together the money, and so far we've completed $3.5 million in street paving. Streets have not been paved in over 8 years. Sam will be bringing back another report in the future to pave additional streets. I work closely with Southern California Edison to get the street lights converted to LED, which provides us much better light and saves the city tens of thousands of dollars a year. Brought forth a couple of fee studies that will help bring in revenue to the city, help make sure that we recoup our costs. Negotiated a couple settlements, and also closed a deal on a billboard project which will bring $8 million to the city in over 30 years. Rose and I work close together to reduce budget deficits in 15-16 and in 16-17, down from 1.4 and 1.5 million to a very close to a balanced budget. And that's why you see the numbers that Rose talked about earlier with the auditor, where we brought down over projected 5-year period deficit of 4.5 million to 1.5 million. And then again, last year we initiated the adoption of the capital improvement budget and approved $10.9 million in special funds to improve the community, streets, storm drains, bus shelters, sidewalks. We're putting those projects together now. You should see them going out to bid very soon. And as far as I know, the capital improvement budget had not been done in a number of years, possibly a decade. The city clerk's office obviously is processing a lot of public records requests, filling seats on the commissions. Information services has been migrating some of our servers to new, faster servers with better capacity, and working on the security of our network. HR, human resources, we've just started implementing an online applicant tracking system that will allow people to submit resumes over the internet. It's easier, faster, hopefully will help us bring in better candidates and more qualified recruitments. They also conducted 44 recruitments last year and hired a total of 104 employees, including full-time and part-time. Many of those are seasonal part-time people. And then, as you know, a few months ago, we processed the PERS contracts, amendments that brought the PERS contract up to date with the MOUs. And then I'll turn it over to finance and Rose.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm just going to talk about a couple of important accomplishments, and I'm not going to name all of them on this slide. And Finance Department continued receive and was awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for fiscal year 2014-15 by the Government Financial Officer Association. We expected to receive the award again for fiscal year 15-16. As you may have heard from the article, that we got a modified opinion, which is a clean opinion. Also, we have set up a more strict policy and procedure in the finance department, and we make sure all the transaction has backup information and has check and balance in place. So as you may know, that the article went through the complete thorough audit, and they did not find any new findings from the fiscal year 15-16. And we also completed all the important state report, county report, such as the state controller report and the government compensation report in California, the annual street report, and such, and also we have sent out the W-2 1099, and we are going to provide an ACA report tomorrow with the paycheck together. And we also did the research and acquire a more efficient accounting software program, and we're expecting the program will be go live in the next coming fiscal year. We also assist to complete the citywide cost of service fee study. We expecting to have about $200,000 increase in revenue with this coming new fiscal year. And we also perform the cost saving and revenue enhancement analysis and recommended the refinancing the successor agency bonds with expecting total saving in $1.8 million over the next 14 years. That's all. Thank you.
All righty. Okay, thank you. Who's next? Mr.
That would be me.
Yeah, all right, Chief, thank you.
Okay. I'll start about a few of our most accomplishments that I'm most proud of. During this fiscal year and a little bit before, we finally finished or continue working on our paperless reporting system, which makes it much more efficient with the officers taking reports in the field. We've also been awarded a traffic safety grant from the state. And I'm proud to announce that we've established our traffic bureau again. Although it's one person and a sergeant, we're still working to get up to speed. We participated in a lot of community events. We started the Halloween event for the children that we held here at the station. We participated in the National Night Out event. We held numerous Coffee with the Cops events. Also proud of our Christmas with the Cops, which is a toy giveaway, which is very successful. We conducted active shooter training with our SWAT team and our police department, patrol personnel with the Unified School District during this period. We've also participated in the Kaiser drug take-back events, which have been very successful to get unwanted used and old prescription drugs off the streets. During this period, we've hired 4 police officers, 2 police cadets, and 1 police dispatcher. Hosted 6 regional police training courses. We're able to upgrade our patrol shotguns and patrol rifles. And one of the things that we're really proud of is we have our first trained and deployed our first trained certified EMT SWAT team member. So on our SWAT team, we have a trained EMT that's there in case something goes south. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so at this point, who's next? Oh, no. Mr. Gutierrez, thank you, sir.
That would be me. So during this time frame, we had 5 projects under construction, including the traffic signal at Alley and Hornbrook. We had the paving, as Shannon mentioned before, this was part of that project, but we had the paving of Kenmore in Ohio and 2 alleyways. These were total reconstruction jobs. We completed the design and awarded the project for Walnut Creek, which is almost complete, but it was under construction during the time. We've also started construction on the Corax storm drain. That project is also almost coming to completion. And then we also started the energy efficiency project. That is the $3 million energy efficiency upgrades to the city facilities. We started that project as well. We completed the design on the Main Avenue Complete Streets project. That's a project that's going to be coming to council in April for authorization to bid. Notably, in-house, we did the air quality analysis. Well, we had some help with that, but we did the preliminary environmental study in-house. And as a result of that, we were able to allocate the $2.1 million in ATP funds for this project. We applied for and received 2 grants, the bus stop enhancement grant. We applied and received the tree planting grant, that's $200,000. We also awarded design contracts and started the design work for the CNG station, which earlier today we brought the equipment purchase to council. We've also increased the scope and awarded 5 zone improvements to the intersection at Pacific and Bogart. We worked with Caltrans during the last after this time frame on designs that were done by our staff here to install a bridge motif at Puente Avenue when we complete that work. So our bridge motif will be different than what they're putting in West Covina and Covina. It'll be more of a bulk parking. We also finished in the monument project, which is now being awarded and should be going into construction soon.
Thank you.
All right, who's next? That would be me, Mr. Mayor. First of all, let me welcome Manny Cabillo. He's been out. Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be back. He's been out for how long, Manny? 4 weeks. Now, he had a knee No, I just had an ACL, anterior cruciate ligament replaced. ACL, which from my understanding is going to beat me in the 5K, even though I come in at a 7.5 minute mile. So We'll wait see. for that race.
No,
We'll see.
he's going to put you with the seniors for the dances.
Yes. All right. Yes. I'd like to start off with the housing division. Thank you. The housing division provided services to over 10,000 underprivileged households within the city of Baldwin Park. We also provided funding and oversight for the Metro Rome 70 units at the complex, including 11 home-funded units and 5 Section 8 tenants. Also, CDBG funded a variety of programs and it affected over 4,544 individuals in the categories of youth, elderly, domestic violence, advocacy, food banks, and other very important social services. We also received some positive press, front pages of the San Diego Valley Tribune, and we had a positive article in regards to Section 8 housing. It was the first time that the list opened up in over 13 years. We attracted over 2,000 applicants, and we are hoping that that will increase the city revenue, as well as we had walk-ins, which is kind of interesting, just under 5,000. 4,494 customers walked into City Hall. In regards to economic development, we coordinated a number of business workshops at the ARC in collaboration with SCORE. Terry mentioned that earlier in regards to the Baldwin Park Business Association. Also, we've attended a variety of networking events, and we've worked very closely with the Baldwin Park Business Association, working on the grand opening, city plaques, and referring a lot of our new businesses to their association. In addition, we've worked very closely with the business community in regards to Shop Baldwin Park campaign. We have included articles in Baldwin Park Now, and we've also added numerous posters at our bus stops. So we are encouraging the residents to shop Baldwin Park. Many years ago, 10, 15 years ago, we did not have the Walmart and the Target and some of the other businesses in Baldwin Park, so we did have some severe leakage. But now, since time has changed and we have a lot of the services within our community, we're able to shop Baldwin Park and keep our tax dollars within our community. In regards to recreation community services, the department continues to secure grants. We received one from Kaiser, and we also received a Metro grant for just over $200,000. We will have a pedestrian-friendly bike event next year in collaboration with Metro. We also, our staff is also CPR, first aid, AED. AED are the mechanisms on the wall. Staff is trained on how to work the automated external defibrillator, so in case we should need one of those. As well as staff work very closely on the 60th anniversary campaign, completing all elements in regards to promotional time capsule from beginning to end. The department works very closely with IT as well, and we manage the website. If it gets a little bit too complicated for our staff, then we go ahead and incorporate IT, which is wonderful
to work with, as well as we've increased the revenue of the ballpark now by more ads and going monthly. So that's working out well. Another big accomplishment I'd like to highlight is we've doubled our enrollment at our school sites, our after-school daycare. It's called the BASIC program. So that seems to be going very well. Concerts, very successful. We attracted over 10,000 spectators last year for all of our concerts. The department had a very successful 25th annual Veterans Day ceremony, received some positive press at the Los Angeles Times, and the parachuters were wonderful. I realized we had an issue 2 years ago where someone got injured. This year it was a perfect jump, and it turned out very well. The Terry G. Muse Family Service Center continues to provide valuable services to the community. And last but not least, the senior prom, we just celebrated our 22nd annual this past year, and we're looking forward to the 23rd annual this October. And that concludes staff's presentation.
All right, thank you. The Honorable the Distinguished Amy Harvard. I
have the remaining portion of community development, which is planning and building. As you know, what our main continual goal in planning and building is to provide good customer service for those that come in and want to construct and improve our community. And this is not only residents who want to build onto their houses, but it's also big developers such as LA Fitness. Since the economy's improved, we've seen a big increase in the number of applications. For building and planning, we've looked at about 900 plan checks and completed about 4,400 inspections. And we've had thousands of customer service contacts with, as I mentioned, not only residents, people that want to move here, but also developers as well. We have our LA Fitness is under construction. We have several housing developments that are in the pipeline where the entitlements are approved and are under construction. Kaiser is undergoing a significant expansion. They're looking to expand their parking structure by 800 spaces.
Whoa.
And also, once the parking structure expansion is done, they're going to be looking to construct a 60,000 square foot medical office building right there on the corner of Bess and Baldwin Park Boulevard. We just approved the 6 billboards along the I-10 freeway and the 47 dwelling units on Pacific. So that concludes my presentation.
Good job. But also, yes.
If I could just in conclusion, I just wanted to echo a couple things that the auditor said. And although we need to be very careful with the upcoming costs on our unfunded obligations and with the PERS costs that are increasing, the city is in a good financial situation. And I did want to refer to in the CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, one thing that they audit is the net position of the city, and the net position of the city is a useful indicator of the governmental agency's financial position over time. It compares our assets with our liabilities, and over the last 3 years, our position has improved dramatically. Last year, actually, the first year that I looked at it we were about in the high 90 millions. That's a net position, so that means that our assets outweigh our liabilities by $90 million. That improved to $101 million in 2015 and improved again this year in 2016 to $105 million. So the city is in a good financial position.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for the phenomenal job that we've done and continue. And when I look back and reflect at 2008 when we had the recession, we didn't lay anyone out, no work furloughs. We just pulled right through compared to some of the neighboring cities. And it's based upon the decisions that were made by all the executive level individuals that were here at that time. And of course now, each and every one of you, thank you very much for the hard work that you've done. Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to thank them as well, because I know all the hours that go in late at night or early in the morning, and it's very much appreciated. Welcome back, Manny Carrillo. And the good thing about our staff is that they feel so close to our community that you'll see them at the street fairs, you'll see them at the concerts.
You'll see them at all the different events and saying hello to everyone and welcoming people and enjoying the food and everything else. So thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, yes. Thanks, staff. You guys worked hard throughout the year, and all your staff underneath you that really pulls things together. I know that finance director works late at night, and Sam and Amy, I was pulling out your hair trying to get things through. All right, the chief's working hard. I'm sure myself working you guys did, and Manny career. Well, I'll be wrong a little late, but got things done. We were off for a month. So I think it's great. You guys have a lot of great accomplishments. I see. Just walking around the city, driving through it, I see all the great things that are going on and a lot of what you've done. So I'll just thank all of you for your hard work. And also I know that early on in the year there was sort of accusations of fraud and that kind of thing. But I can tell you that the audit that was done here shows that there was no irregularities or fraud or illegal acts, or irregularities, fraud, or acts were found. So I know there was some discussion of that early on, but our staff has done a great job. I want to trust in all of you, and I want to just thank you for keeping that all of that hard work that you guys do, and the trust that we have on all of you. You guys spending all of the funding on the right stuff, and the right projects that are moving forward in the city. So I want to thank you for all that. Just keep up the hard work. You guys really want our revenues, keep the costs down. You guys are really trying to maintain everything, so just keep a sharp eye, keep working hard. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, yes, Vice Mayor. This is the
I'm sorry, I know it sounds repetitive, but this is the one chance we get to thank the staff because they're all presenting right now, and so please forgive me if it sounds redundant, but we really do. As much as we want to thank every day we don't get that opportunity, but it's because of you that we up here look even better. So thank you for your hard work, and always know that we support your work and we appreciate it. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice
Mayor. I'll say thank you as well, and not only for your hard work, but also for the time that you spend here in these council meetings. So thank you for jumping in on Thursday mornings and just having the good work here. So thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so at this point we're going to go ahead and move on over to the. We need a motion for that, am I right? For the fiscal year.
To approve the mid-year revenue and expenditure projections for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017.
All right, I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Second.
Any objection? Not so. All right, this next one is a request by Mayor Pro Tem Rubio for council to discuss and consider a stormwater collection master plan that would include collaborating with our neighboring cities and identifying areas that can be transformed into stormwater capture facilities. Councilmember, Vice Mayor.
Yes, again. Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry for my voice. It's starting to sound a little raspy, but yeah.
This is, I wanted to inquire about it. Is it going out?
No, go ahead. Let's get that. Vice Mayor.
I just wanted to inquire about the master plan that we have in place. I did speak to Senator, and we do have something that's already in the works. However, there's so many regulations changing every day, and we're in a drought, and there's mandates from the state. And so one of the things that I wanted to propose is that we have a forum, but this is not so much our city, but all the surrounding cities. I know there's a lot of vacant lots that we share, Bassett being one. There's an empty school there. And I did talk to some of the members of that city, and we were discussing using some of those facilities to figure out a way to do those water capturing projects that other cities are doing. Of course, this is a long-term process, but can we figure out a way to set up a forum where we can invite all the surrounding cities that surround us, so we can see what parcels we share, that we can work together to maybe create a project. Or just by way of example, Mayor, we went to a conference and they were discussing having, now we see these beautiful parks that are on top of the city, and you don't realize that they've been worked up underneath. There's these, they call them buckets to capture the water, and so they utilize them for play and to hang out, but yet they're serving a purpose. And so for that, we need to think long term of all the vacant land we have right now that we can utilize for the future. So I would like to propose that we set up a forum with all the surrounding cities so we can take advantage of it now and make sure we have a long-term plan. Thank you, Mayor.
That's a good, excellent idea.
Yes, it was the WELL conference. It's water for elected Latino officials.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, thank you very much. All right, at this point, I'm going over to the other one that's the direct staff to ensure by Councilmember Cruz Baca, ensure that all developments and new developments in the city of Baldwin Park will comply with the state's storm water and capture standard. So at this point, Councilmember Cruz Baca.
Yes, I'm just going to piggyback, except we're going to bring it local to what Vice Mayor Rubio said. I would like to see, I know that there's already a policy or an ordinance in place, but I would like to see it expanded a little more, or so that way the language in the contracts for either new or existing developments, and even some of the old developments, so that they do comply with the MS4 that's coming. All the cities are talking about how much this is going to cost us. So I would really like for something like that to be included in the contracts or the legal language, so that all developers automatically know that they will have to comply or look into something to do with capturing the stormwater.
You know, I think we do something currently, don't we, on the new developments? Some minor stuff. Yes. Yes, you're Sam, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We do have a lot of those programs in place. During the plan check, engineering is involved and they review all of these low-impact development, SUSONs, and SUDs, stormwater prevention pollution plans that have to be submitted as part of the plan check system. During construction, we enforce stormwater regulations. We make sure that all their best management practices are in place. And yeah, so we do have a lot of those projects. Now, if I can go back to what Mayor Pro Tem Rubio was saying. So there is a forum. David Lopez is the city's storm funder coordinator. He's been doing this for a very long time. He attends a monthly meeting. We'll be sure to bring up your idea to them and see if they want to expand on it. Also, I wanted to say that in the plan, we're part of a group, different groups that put together the Enhanced Watershed Management Plan. In that plan, we have identified Barnes Park as a regional project to capture stormwater. So Barnes Park is already identified as one of those projects. Now, there is a funding issue. It's projected to be around $11 million, but that cost is going down.
Well, if I may, I'm sorry. I just wanted to add to that the reason I think it's important to work with other cities because we're discussing funding that's coming down the pike in particular for these projects. So by ourselves, it may be a difficult undertaking, but if we work with other cities, then we have a better chance of obtaining these grants. Now, this is all the information that I received, but even for the existing developments, and even when we have already these contracts for developers, they were talking about things that are just coming out that we haven't seen. And so I just want to explore all those new technologies or whatever it is that they're doing right now before that we start other developments. Just a chance to see we can invite the same presenters to show us. When we're talking about these barrels that are now covered, you can't even see them, that they have in certain buildings. And I'm sure we have a lot of that, but I just want to make sure we don't lose out on any of the possibilities for the future. But thank you, Sam. Appreciate the information. Thank you.
If I could add also to what Sam said, I actually met with the new public works director for the city of the county of Los Angeles today, and he also wants to take this same idea a step further, not only getting the cities together, but the county together to work on very regional projects, because the county manages the storm drains and the sewers, and they can use those to convey the water, treat the water, and then get the water back into the ground where it can be eventually used for well water and to provide water to the community. So that is good news.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. The next one, we create or update policy that addresses bullying, harassment, abuse, and verbal abuse, including physical contact, will apply to all employees and elected officials. I know we have an existing policy, but Councilmember Cruz Baca.
Yes, we do, and I took a look at it. However, from what I understand, It does not include elected officials. We are not considered employees. And the policy, I read it, unless I'm missing something, it says employees. So I would like for some language, or for us to create some language, us meaning legal, to create a language that would include elected officials as well. So that would apply everything. The policy's great. I read it. Short, to the point. However, it does not include elected officials, and I would like to see that.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So at this point, do we need?
Well, Mayor, if we bring that back for a study session, because we are employees of the city, regardless of how you look at it. But we get paid and we're considered employees. But put it up for a study session. I know they had the city did a update on harassment policy. Also, I know that city staff has a number of trainings on that I've attended, and the city staff, if you'd like to attend, Bruce, you could attend those too. But I think we should have a study session on it and an update, and then go from there. Thank you, Mayor.
The study session's great, but I would like to see the elected officials included. It's very simple in the policy that exists right now, so that it will. And I'm sorry, but I was told that as elected officials, we are not considered employees, even though we do collect a paycheck and we are working in a sense for the city, but we are not considered elected officials.
Oh, well,
I'm sorry, we are not considered employees.
When we do our study session, we can ask staff or the city attorney, but I guarantee you, you're considered an employee of the city. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Can I share a little bit?
Yes. Okay, go ahead.
We're not necessarily considered employees, and I can give you examples of that. There was an allegation of harassment previously, and when we tried to address it, and I even said it up here publicly, had anybody made an allegation of harassment from any other departments or employee, we would not have hesitated to take action, to look into it, investigate it, and take the appropriate actions to make sure that we were not liable for lawsuit or anything else, right? And at the time, because it was an elected official, it was dismissed and those steps were not taken. Those actions should be the same. No one should be harassed. I'm not implying anybody did, just my opinion. I'm just saying that all women, men, and wherever it is, should be protected equally. I don't believe there should be a distinction between an elected official and an employee, to the point that if someone had gone to HR and filed a complaint, we would have got lawyers and investigated that immediately and taken the appropriate actions. And that wasn't the case because we couldn't go to HR. We were, not myself, but it was said that we were not employees of the city. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Pacheco.
That was inaccurate. That there was I filed a harassment case. It was looked into, but the city council voted not to hire somebody. Chris Baca voted not to hire a firm. And if you still want to hire that firm, we can do that. But it went to the DA's office. They found that there was no criminal activity. So I don't want to continue this. We can hire a firm, go back to that one, and we'll do it again. I think it's wrong that you consistently make these, I don't know, you just make up issues. You want to continue this to move forward. But you know what? If you want to bring it back again on the agenda, and we'll hire a firm and just settle it once and for all. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. We always seem to be discussing different items. This was not about any particular individual. What I heard from Chris Baca is let's update what we have to ensure that everyone that's in the city is protected. I don't believe it was attached to a name or anybody else. It was just, let's just do this so everyone's protected. It's a simple request. I believe personally it has nothing to do with anybody. As an individual, as an elected official of the city, I would like to see everyone protected no matter who they are. Thank you, Mayor.
And Mayor, I agree. I think that we need to have that in the policy. It's simple language that will be added to the existing policy. And I don't think it's asking for much, whether we attend a workshop or whatever it is. I feel very strongly that we all need to be protected.
All right. Okay. Yes.
Mayor,
yes.
I'd be in support of just bringing it back so that we can have a fuller discussion, because right now I'm just getting information just haphazardly. So we can bring it back for a study session and we can ask the questions. Because if I look at the existing policy, it does apply to employees. And I know that when there were complaints that were issued from Cruz Baca, from Ricardo Pacheco, I know that we took action, and like Ricardo Pacheco just mentioned, some people on this council decided they didn't want to move forward. So there's a lot of just kind of grandstanding happening right now, and I think it has something to do with the elections that are coming up in 2018. And let's just have a real conversation around this. Bring it back to study session. We can ask the questions, please.
Okay, all right.
I have to say that if it was, and I'm not saying it's for me in particular, and this has nothing to do with campaigning. This has to do with protecting people that are bullied, harassed, in whatever capacity. I just want the simple language to change. It has nothing to do with campaigning or anything. I think it's something that as a city we need to do it in order to protect ourselves. We protect the employees, we need to protect the elected officials. That's all I said. That's all I want. So if we would do a study session, answer questions, for whatever reason it is, I would be glad with that. Thank you.
Okay, all right, then that's fine. We'll entertain that, so we'll discuss it here at the court. I don't care. Let me ask the legal counsel. So, legal counsel, are elected officials considered employees or not?
They are for certain purposes. However, in this case, I would have to do further research to determine whether under our harassment laws, city council members are considered employees. That I would have to do further research on that.
All right, so we could bring that up at the following meeting, or well, let's do this one
Yes,
quick.
could we bring it for March 15th,
That's
please?
fine.
Thank
All
you.
right, so we'll do that. All right, so at this point, unless anyone else has any other questions?
I do have a question, and it has nothing to
That's
do.
fine.
As we know, David Muse has gone on to the water board, and his planning commission position is vacant. I would like for us to look for a planning commissioner that will take his place.
Absolutely. And want to also thank you very much. At this point, I'd like to also recognize Commissioner Ruben Dexter. Thank you for being the commissioner. So at this point, unless anyone else has any other further questions, I will now move for a motion for adjournment. Any objections? See none, so moves. Viva Baldwin Park. Okay, let me, anyone? Which is